Back to where we left in our last video. In this video we are going to know much more things in functions. Okay, so one of the important things that we should be knowing first of all about function, that over here we have pass by reference. What I mean by pass by reference is, let's take a quick example. So let's take def, and I'm gonna just name this as back. Okay, and I'm gonna pass x, and I'm gonna assign x of 0 is equal to 20. That's it. And now what I can do is, let's create a list lst equal to 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 5 6 7 8 and 9. Okay, now if I pass back, okay, and I pass my list, and if you check print lst, the first thing, the value of 20 will be changed off. Okay, that is x of 0 becomes 20. Why? Because we are doing pass by reference. The value that we are having, that is lst, has been referenced with x, and whatever changes you do in x, it will be reflected back to your list. So make sure to keep these things in mind. Okay, so we have pass by reference over here. That is one of the points that you should be knowing about. Now the next thing, let's know about default. Let's create a cell, default argument. Okay, let's change this to markdown. Let's create some new cells. And what is a default argument? So let's create a new cell, def add num1 is equal to 0 and num2 is equal to 0, and let's print num1. Let's use f string. Num1 is equal to num1 and num2 is equal to num2. That's it. Let's run it off. If I pass add function now, okay, so we have num1 is equal to 0 and num2 is equal to 0. This is by default, but if I try to change out the value, let's say 3 comma 4, then it will be 3 and 4. But if you forget to mention any of the values, let's say I have only mentioned 3, then it will just take the first argument 3 and it will make num2 by default as 0. Now where is this useful? So if I don't mention over here num2 is equal to 0, let's run it. Okay, so there will be an type error because we don't have any argument inside of num2. We have to mention num2 over here. So by any means, if you forget someday, so you can just have a default value over here, and that should be working just fine for you guys. So let's take again def add n1 is equal to 0, n2 is equal to 0 again, and let's return n1 plus n2. If I pass nothing right now, it will just give me 0. If I pass 3 comma 4, it will give me the sum of it. By mistake, if I forget to give anything, it will just give me back the value. Or if you write out any other number, so it will just add them up with that, the default number. So that's all about what is default and by which what we mean by all of these. Okay, so let's create out these cells for you guys so that once you go through the notes, this will be much more useful. Okay, so if I pass add 4 comma 5, it will be the sum of it. So this was all about pass by arguments and default arguments. Now a very important thing, let's know about docstring. We have been talking about docstring a lot, but we haven't used this in previous, so it is only an optional argument, that is docstring. Let's change it to markdown. Again, just to note it out, you should knowing that docstrings are optional and you must be using that, but there is no restriction for using that. What I mean by this is def, let's write add, and over here let's mention two numbers, n1 comma n2. That's it. If in docstring I write three double quotes or single quotes, whichever you want to use, and this function this function is used to add two numbers. It's a typo, two numbers. And let's return n1 plus n2. Now, what is a docstring? Docstring are just optional description about your function. Now, if you want to check what exactly does this function do, add, so you can just pass doc underscore underscore. That's it. This function is used to add two numbers. Whatever you have written inside of this will give a view or greater insights to people who are viewing out your content. Okay, so that's it for docstring. Let's look into our last concept, that is again local scope and global scope. Oops, let's change it to markdown. What I mean by local scope is, let's take a variable sum is equal to 0 and let's create def again add n1 comma n2 sum is equal to n1 comma n1 plus n2, and that's it. That's exactly what I'm going to do now. And let's print out the value of sum too. So print sum is equal to, let's create this, not now if I pass add 2 comma 3, it will just give me a 5 value. Okay, now one thing that I wanted to show you is this. If I do print that is outside of that function sum, it is 0. Why? Okay, let's write this over here also. Print sum is equal to sum unbound operator. Let me check what we have. Okay, yeah, let's run it. Yeah, so exactly what is happening over here. So sum that is over here is an global, it is in global scope. That is, this variable can be used anywhere inside the block of code. Okay, not particularly in a function but anywhere. This is a global scope or variable, so you can use that this variable in any place. It may be inside the uh, function or outside the function, anywhere. So we are getting this value. Okay, let's change it to 10. We are getting the value of 10, but whichever variable that you have created inside of this, so this is local scope. Okay, so this variable over here, what you see right now, sum, this is an global scope. This is an local scope variable, and you can just use it inside an function. Okay, you cannot use this variable outside of it. If you, let's change this to add. So that is what we mean by local and global scope. Global scope variables can be used anywhere inside your function, and local scope variables, that are this one, these are only used inside of your function definition. You cannot use them outside of it. Okay, so that's all about local scope and global scope, and that's it for functions. We have learned a lot about functions. We have dedicated videos for the introduction, for creating your own function, for parameters and arguments, for return function. We did solve a lot of new problems. We gone through how to break out a problem, and then we have looked into some of the important things that we have, that is pass by reference, what are default arguments, and then docstring, and at the end local scope and global scope. So that's it for this section. Congratulations everyone, you have completed functions. In our next section we are going to learn about different type of other functions like the lambda functions, map, and then filter. All of these we are going to go through and have a dedicated session on all of that. So thank you very much. We will meet again in our next section.